investigators. For several weeks, searchers looked through every single mine shaft in this vast desert area like this one, not knowing the condition of them. Some you could walk into, others you had to rappel to look for Aaron Corwin's body. Detectives showed the photos to mine expert Doug Billings.
So I didn't have to look at a map. I knew exactly where I was anytime in any of the mines there, so I was able to help direct the rescue team.
Doug and his crew started at 3 a.m. before the hot summer sun turned the desert into a furnace. The old mine is fragile and dangerous, the wood frames rotting away from termites. They carefully rappelled down the shaft. And at the bottom, in the darkness below the earth, a body. The news was shocking.
The search concluded with the discovery of Aaron Corwin's body in a 140-foot mine shaft.
Aaron's grave, 140 feet under. Her body so badly decomposed, they couldn't initially determine if she was pregnant.
It was a Saturday night going into Sunday, saying they found a female body, and they asked us not to tell anybody so that Chris wouldn't disappear. They assured me that they had their eye on Chris all the time.
A half hour after Aaron's body was found, police arrest Chris Lee in Anchorage, Alaska. He moved there with his wife and daughter after being honorably discharged from the Marines. Lee fought extradition but eventually gave in and returned to California to face a murder charge.
And are you entering a not guilty plea at this point? Not guilty plea.
Then later, at his murder trial, a shocking reversal. Lee says he did it. He admitted killing Aaron, recounting chilling details about how and why. Lee says they were just outside the mine and got into an argument. He says he came up from behind and strangled her with a homemade garrote. His death grip tightening on her neck, choking the life out of her. After 5 minutes of what had to be torture, he released his grip and Aaron fell to the ground. Lee says he dragged her body to the mine, pushed her in head first, threw a propane canister down the shaft, and then tossed in a lighted torch. And hours before, she texted a friend saying, "I think he's going to propose."
And, one of the things that haunts me to this day is wondering what she was thinking when he wrapped that garrote around her neck, when she was out there with somebody that she trusted, somebody that she thought loved her. What was going through her mind?
Why did he kill her? I was controlled by the anger, he says. Unbelievably, he claims she molested his daughter, even though there is no evidence that ever happened. It was a very offensive lie.
It was.
That outrageous claim greatly upset Aaron's father, Bill, speaking exclusively to Crime Watch Daily. What did you think when that came out of his mouth?
I thought it was crazy to put something like that, because it was not even something that anyone who knew Aaron would even remotely think this was a possibility. I mean, anybody who knew her would look at that and go, really? That didn't work.
Yes, he confessed, but he couldn't even confess without bringing somebody else's character down with him.
The jury didn't buy Lee's flimsy excuse for killing Aaron, convicting him of first-degree murder. Life without parole. Aaron's mom says she's okay with Lee not receiving a death sentence. Did you want that?
No.
Why?
With the death penalty, they're guaranteed multiple appeals. And I don't want to have to go through this any more than we've already gone through.
And now in the desert where Aaron took her final breath, a memorial looking toward the entrance to the mine shaft where Lee callously tossed her body. Aaron's murder made headlines across the country, so her family left a note for everyone visiting this memorial site, asking them to sign this registry. And you'll see inside there's comments from strangers to family and friends. And now a mother is left without her daughter. Laura finds comfort in this video.
Good boy.
Aaron actually taught her cat how to obey commands.
Good boy.
When I want to hear her voice, I play that video.
Shake?
Is that the only video you have of her voice?
Yes.
Feels good to hear.
Feels good to hear.
Christopher Lee has filed an appeal hoping to overturn his conviction or at least reduce his sentence. Aaron's family says they try not to think about him anymore. He's not important to them. Remembering their daughter and what she stood for is the only thing they now care about. It's Monday night in Machesney Park, Illinois. Todd and Katrina Smith are hanging out at home.
Everything was great.
In fact, the Lovebirds just returned from an anniversary trip to Washington, D.C., celebrating 7 years of wedded bliss.
On her wedding day, I was happy for them. I was, excited that, this was the person she wanted to spend her life with. She was going to be able to be a stepmom to his 3 children. And, he seemed like a good fit for her.
And there's plenty to celebrate, including a possible new job for Mrs. Smith. The 30-year-old HR coordinator lands a huge interview, scheduled for the very next morning. And while Katrina finishes up some laundry, she hops on her husband's computer to finalize the details.
There were a string of emails between herself and her new employer.
After confirming her morning meeting, Todd says Katrina heads out to a friend's condo where she's currently house-sitting. The next morning, the 44-year-old insurance and investment broker sends a text to his wife which reads, "Good luck at your interview. You're gonna be awesome." Oddly, Katrina doesn't respond. The day comes and goes and still no word. Todd is getting really nervous, and suddenly the phone rings.
I got a phone call on October 23rd, maybe around 7 p.m., from Todd saying that, he asked me if I had talked to my sister, and I said no. He said she didn't show up for work, and he hadn't talked to her since the previous night.
And her big interview, she misses that, too.
She's very responsible, so I was immediately concerned. I knew something wasn't right. I felt sick to my stomach.
But just how wrong was it?
I asked him if they had had a fight, if there was anything going on, and he said, no, everything was great.
So then where is Katrina Smith? Panicked, Todd heads to the sheriff's station.
During the initial interview with Todd Smith, he indicated that Katrina, on October 22nd, Katrina had been there at his house to do laundry, and then she was also going to get on the computer and send some emails out for an interview for a new job.
Investigators checked Todd's computer and confirmed the emails sent from Katrina to her potential new boss.
From the emails that we recovered on the computer, that it shows that she did send out some emails to set up the interview. That was earlier in the day on the 22nd, and then he sends one more last email, and then Katrina responds at 10:54.
Immediately, investigators begin a search of the area. Katrina's family sets up a Facebook page entitled Find Katrina Smith, where they organize volunteer search parties. The Winnebago County Sheriff's Department officially classifies Katrina Smith as a missing person and takes the lead on the investigation.
That was the same night the vehicle was found.
Katrina's abandoned Chevrolet Cruze is discovered at the intersection of Obispo Road and Ventura Boulevard, about 2 miles from her home.
With her car being found, added some urgency to the fact that this isn't just a missing person. There was something definitely not right.
Investigators on the scene believe the car has been wiped clean and towed in for forensic processing. But there's more. A lot more.
Once the vehicle was recovered, there was evidence or a trail of evidence that was recovered.
Then, 2 days later, another startling discovery. Local law enforcement and volunteer searchers find Katrina's wallet and cell phone just feet from her abandoned vehicle. And something else.
Bloody paper towels.
Friends and family rally around Katrina's distraught husband, Todd Smith, as he makes pleas for her safe return.
It's been horrible. I just wanted to come home.
He was in the media constantly every day. He would conduct daily interviews practically with the news media.
With Katrina's husband and family seemingly making every effort to find the missing Illinois woman, authorities begin to speculate.
It was a stranger who perhaps broke into the home or who perhaps stalked her. Maybe it was someone from her church who stalked her.
In fact, there was an acquaintance from church, a juvenile who knew the Smiths through a church youth group. And get this, just 2 years before Katrina went missing, this peeping Tom was charged with allegedly stalking the Smiths' neighbor by peering through her bedroom window. Coincidence?
She knew that somebody was following and watching her.
Was this peeping Tom stalking their neighbor, or was he stalking Katrina? 30-year-old Illinois wife and stepmom Katrina Smith is missing.
No trace of her. She had disappeared.
Her friends and family are desperate to find her.
Do anything we could to bring her home.
It's day 4 in the search for Katrina Smith. Her husband, Todd, speaks out once again to the media. Cameras roll as he is overcome with emotion.
She said I'd be back later. And that's the last we heard of it.
As Katrina's friends and family organize another search, frantically looking for any clues that will answer the question, where is Katrina Smith?
We're all just trying to be there for one another and trying to stay positive.
Katrina's sister makes a heartbreaking post on the Facebook page, saying in part, "Sissy, I love you more than words can describe. I miss you terribly, and the pain that I feel is unbearable." But detectives believe they may be one step closer to finding the missing McChesney Park woman. They zero in on a juvenile arrested in Katrina's neighborhood with a reported penchant for peeping.
She had no enemies. She had no one else that wanted to harm her.
Then, sheriff's detectives from Winnebago make a stunning discovery. And now there is another man they're looking for. Turns out Katrina has a secret.
There was a boyfriend that Katrina Smith had started seeing on the side.
That's right. This married stepmother is
very private. She was very secretive.
His name, Guy Gabriel, a married man from a town over.
Guy Gabriel is a co-worker of Katrina's. This was ultimately started having a relationship with while she was still married with Todd Smith.
And when cops run a background check on Katrina's secret lover, they uncover a violent past.
And there was something with he was involved in a domestic issue with his wife.
Police records reportedly reveal an arrest for domestic battery. The responding officer describes the reported attack.
The first thing I noticed was she had a large knot on her forehead. Her face was really red, and it looked like she had been crying. Her eyes were red also. She had a couple scratches that I could see on her throat and her chest.
The attending nurse paints a similar picture of alleged abuse.
She said he hit her head into the ground and choked her at one point.
But that's not all the dirt on Katrina's secret boyfriend. Detectives retrieved text messages from her recently recovered cell phone. And it's a powder keg of intel. On the night Katrina goes missing, her secret lover, Guy Gabriel, sends her a barrage of text messages.
There's something else going on here than just a missing person.
One of the texts to Katrina says, "What's wrong?" And yet another that reads, "Have you told him you want a divorce? That there's nothing left in you for him? Nothing." Then the texts, which continue late into the night, appear to take on an aggressive tone when Guy writes, he wants this his way. Well, newsflash, he has no say.
All the while, we were all suspicious.
Then more explosive evidence. The missing woman's co-workers confirmed to police that Katrina thought she was being stalked in the weeks leading up to her disappearance.
She also shared that information with her cellular phone company.
She knew that somebody was following and watching her.
And that scared her. A text to her stepfather just 4 days before she vanished revealed Katrina feared for her life. In the text, she writes, "Do I have to have my FOID card first before going to the shooting range?" FOID is an acronym for Firearm Owner Identification Card. According to her stepdad, Katrina wanted a gun for protection.
She did everything that she thought she could to protect herself.
Sadly, it may not have been enough. Katrina's co-workers share a disturbing incident with police that occurred just 2 weeks before Katrina went missing.
An individual drove through her work parking lot in disguise and distributed several flyers.
That flyer was to expose her secret boyfriend, Guy. It was entitled Guy Expletive Cat, which stated in part he was able to expletive Katrina from HR in record time, and goes on to paint Katrina as a cheater. Yes, she's married with a family, but when I turned on the charm, her legs fell open. But who is the mystery man behind the X-rated flyers?
He secretly followed her. We believe that he dumped flyers at her workplace. So she was constantly being stalked by this individual.
In Katrina's secret love affair, it's not so secret anymore.
And she had no idea that he was capable of these things.
30-year-old Katrina Smith has been missing for 2 weeks.
I just miss him so much.
Cops discovered the wife and stepmother had a secret life and a secret lover.
The ultimate betrayal.
And constant terror.
Someone was tracking her.
Detectives interview Katrina's lover and co-worker, Guy Gabriel. He claims he was working there when Katrina went missing.
He was very cooperative with the investigation.
While investigators check out Guy's alibi, they turn their attention to a person no one first suspected. Katrina's husband, Todd Smith, who's been on TV every day since September